back with the One Piece podcast on Just in Anime Podcast. That's a lot of podcasting. We are back to get the One Piece review going, and well, not the review, more like the podcast, not a review, because we haven't done any reviewing yet. So we are going to cover some chapters today. Leave off. We're going to cover a little bit more. Two of our people, our crewmates are gone. Everett's on a journey, and Eddie has not come back from his other journey. So it's just me and good. We got Admiral Tim over here, Admiral Tim, and the captain me doing the episode today. So if we miss it, I know people have been commenting. I know people have been actually chatting in the chat and talking to us and stuff. So I need to actually look that up because people were talking to us last time, and I think I couldn't even answer. Let me see.
I think we were trying to get through everything, as much as we could, and we just didn't see any of the comments.
Yes, a guy of mine, my boy Kevin. Shout out to Kevin. He was commenting the whole time, chatting with us in the chat. So
and we just totally didn't notice.
I didn't
our
put the
bad.
thing up here either. So thank you for interacting, and we shall get started. Like, share, subscribe, comment to the Just in Anime Podcast page, and follow along if you want to check out One Piece with us and start the journey of One Piece. It's an amazing series. It's long, but it's worth every episode. Manga, however you're going to toss and turn it. Great series. So we left off when Luffy
and Kobe are now they're on a boat together because after he defeated Iron Mace Alvida, he basically, I can't even say defeated because it wasn't a fight. It was a one shot.
Yeah.
And he basically tells the crew of Alvida's crew, boat and get out of the way because Kobe's going to join the Marines and I got someplace I got to be. So they're floating in the ocean. And we've now been told that Luffy's first recruit, he's going after Roronoa Zoro.
The pirate hunter
Roronoa Zoro. And
first mate.
And Kobe is kind of like trying to ward him off. He's kind of like, you do not want Zoro. This guy is called the Pirate Hunter. You are a pirate. Like this is a bad idea. And Luffy's kind of just like, I'm just gonna ask him, and if he says no, I mean, he's not gonna say no, but we'll ask him anyway. Being typical Luffy.
Luffy his logic is just like straight up. I'm gonna do this. We're gonna go do it. I don't care about the particulars. We're gonna ask him. He say no. We'll keep it pushing.
He's very much like, to me. He's very much like Naruto in that way, where he doesn't think about the little details. He only sees the big picture. It's everyone else around him that puts the little details together for him. And that's why things work out.
Amen.
Is because in One Piece, obviously, Luffy has the Straw Hats who can help kind of put everything together for him. And so Luffy's just like, we're going here, and that's what we're gonna do. And everybody's like, well, how are we gonna do any of what you're saying? And he's like, we'll figure it out. And they land. They hit shore, and they land at the town where the Marine base is, where Zoro is being held.
And it's dope. We get introduced to a new faction of characters, the Marines. So we'll learn more about them, and probably as we get to it, you'll probably figure out what the Marines are actually, what type of force they stand for the pirates. Basically, like the police for pirates, as you'll eventually see.
I mean, they essentially
order.
Yeah, they essentially kind of provide the same job that I would say like British privateers and stuff did in the age of piracy in the real world.
Yeah,
I mean that was just their job, So Luffy is kind of tooling around town. He gets food, which of course is a major deal for Luffy. And they're looking for the Marine base.
And then they go to this restaurant. They're eating. They're just making conversation. And obviously the town, Luffy mentions Zoro and Zolo, and the customers freak out.
Everybody in the room just splits.
Oh, everybody freaks out because it's the pirate hunter.
Mhm.
He's scary. The pirate hunter, Roro Zolo, and Luffy mentions him, and Kobe just said we shouldn't mention that name around here. And then somebody says something else. Kobe mentions the captain of the Marine base, Captain Morgan, and then the customers flip out again.
Yeah.
So apparently they're more scared. Seems like they're more scared of Captain Morgan and Zoro, but Zoro's reputation obviously puts fear in people's hearts.
And honestly, when you meet Captain Morgan, you can see why regular people are kind of scared of him.
Yeah. So we get to the name. They just go to the base.
Yeah.
And it's just, but it's guarded. It's a government facility. So it's obviously guarded. And Kobe mentions about Captain Morgan, and then, but the base doesn't seem all super protected. Like it's basically a child can jump over this fence. And apparently we get to introduction of the first mate. Yeah. Luffy jumps over the fence nonchalantly, like, hey, where's he at?
Yeah, he just kind of scales up the wall and is like looking for him. And he can spy him because he's basically in the courtyard, just tied up. He's like basically tied to a wooden post.
I love the panels.
Yeah.
When they introduce somebody, they have the dopest introductions. Because Zoro is just chilling there, and he's like Ruby describing bandana, the sash, and a Harimaki sash, and he looks menacing, and Luffy's just like, oh, here he goes right there, and he's just chilling. There's nobody guarding him though. Like for a high profile person,
he's just unguarded.
He's just unguarded, so he's just chilling. So basically, Luffy like, let's set him free.
Yeah, and actually, Zoro does spy them, and he does say, he's like, hey, how about coming over here and untying me? I've been up here for 9 days.
And he said, I'll make it worth your while. So Luffy's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And Luffy's like, I was like, let's go let him out. And
then the little girl shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little girl shows up, and she's bringing him food, which just a second ago in the panel, or in the text, Zoro's complaining to Luffy and Kobe about being hungry, and this little girl comes and she has rice balls, and she tries to give them to him, and he just rejects her and is like, go away, like leave me alone. And we don't really know exactly why yet, but then we meet possibly one of the most annoying characters I've ever seen in anime.
We meet Helmeppo.
Helmeppo, yes.
Captain Morgan's goofy-looking son.
Yeah, he kind of looks like Niles from Frasier to me. Like, if you've ever seen that, I know that's a white people show, but like that's I mean,
there's some black people probably watch Frasier.
Maybe, but I mean, let's be real. I mean, it's Frasier. Frasier's
just. I watch certain shows.
Frasier's just dry humor. I mean, it's just not.
And this dude got this goofy hairstyle. He's got fancy looking clothes. So, and then Zoro makes a comment about him, the son, idiot son. And so the Marines are just chilling. So basically, him and Zoro are talking. But first, the little girl's right there, and
Helmeppo takes the rice ball and he eats one of them.
And basically, the little girl, she was trying to feed to Zoro, and he didn't want it, and he ate it, and basically just insulted the little
Threw
girl.
it on the ground and started stepping on it. He said it was terrible.
Yeah, because it had all the sugar in it and whatnot, and they just like the little girl worked hard on this rice ball. Felt bad because One Piece hits you in some feels and it's just little certain parts of One Piece that get at your heartstrings. I mean, you're picking on a kid.
Yeah, and we do see a little part of what Luffy is about, because the Marine who Helmeppo orders to throw her out literally throws her over the wall.
Yeah,
and Luffy obviously jumps up and catches her, and you can see from the impact where he's like sliding across the ground from where he caught her. And
he tossed her over like a bag of potatoes.
And now he's mad. Like now Luffy's pissed. And the guards and Helmeppo, they actually go walking off. They kind of taunt Zoro, and then they're just like, you're not going to make it out here. If you can live like this for a month, I'll keep my word and release you, he says. And here we are, you know. So with them gone, Luffy once again scales the wall, and this time he gets face to face with Zoro. And he's like, you know, Zoro's like, you haven't left yet. He's like, you better get out of here, or that guy really will tell his dad. And his dad is a terrifying person. And that's when Luffy gives him the pitch where he's like, I'm looking for someone to join my pirate fleet. And he's like, there's nothing wrong with being a pirate. And, you know, Zoro kind of tells him, like, he's like, don't tell me you're going to set me free and then force me to join you. And Luffy's like, I don't know yet. I haven't really decided, since everybody thinks you're a bad guy. And of course, Zoro, you know, he actually rejects Luffy first. He's like, I'm not going to join you. No matter what you do, I'm not joining you. And Luffy kind of is like, okay, we'll see. And let's see, what else are we missing here?
Like I said, they had the boat back and forth. Luffy trying to convince Zoro to join him, so to let him go and whatnot. And Luffy, so Zoro does something unexpected. He asked for the rice ball that Helmeppo stepped on the little girl made for him.
Yes.
And I don't know, Zoro didn't want to show face in front of the little girl or something like that. I think he didn't want to get her in trouble because Helmeppo basically, you do anything to disobey an order, he's going to tell Captain Morgan.
Yeah.
And I guess he didn't want to get the little girl in trouble because, you know, Helmeppo had shown the rules about messing with a prisoner and you aiding a prisoner and whatnot. So he smashes on the rice ball, and he told Luffy to thank the little girl for feeding it to him. So apparently Zoro's not as a bad person as people claim him to be. And
there is something that we're going to see is going to be a common thread with all of Luffy's crew. Is the concept of fulfilling a personal dream.
Yeah.
Zoro does mention that while he's talking with Luffy shortly before he eats the rice ball. He talks about how he's going to fulfill his dream once Helmeppo lets him loose.
And he's not going to become a pirate.
Yeah. And it has nothing to do with becoming a pirate. But
yeah,
we're going to see a common thread across One Piece is that
each character has their own motives and what they want to do.
Yes, each character has a personal dream that they want to fulfill. And that is, I think, a big reason that they're willing to join up with Luffy is because his dedication to his dream, well, hi, buddy, is helping everyone else to kind of get to theirs. You know what I mean? So we're really gonna see that coming up. But after he tells Luffy, say, hey, tell the little girl thank you very much and that the rice balls were very good. He actually finds him. Luffy and Kobe actually go and find that little girl. And they're like, yeah, he ate the whole thing, said it was really, really good. And
we get the real reason.
Yeah, and Kobe is like, is he really that horrible a person his reputation says he is? And the girl's like, no, he's not. He didn't really do anything wrong. It's just that people in town are afraid of him, and he got arrested because of me.
Because some Helmeppo's thugs, or more Captain Morgan's son, a bunch of dogs have become Captain Morgan. Helmeppo's dogs try to attack her, and Zoro just happened to be there.
And Zoro killed them.
And, well, he nicked it. I don't think he actually he scared him away.
It says here that he killed him.
What?
Yeah, it says in this translation that he killed Helmeppo's pet wolf.
Oh!
So, I don't know. But, you know, she kind of tells him, like, that's the reason that Zoro's strung up out there is because, you know, he killed Helmeppo's pet. And we're going to find out there's a little bit more to it than that. But that's kind of the reason reason Zoro is there. And they kind of do briefly talk about the fact that Captain Morgan and his son, they're both actually terrible. And the reason that everyone's scared when they mention Captain Morgan is because he basically runs the island like his own little his own little dictatorship.
He's using the Navy as leverage.
Yes.
Because he has authority and he's
Yes.
the highest superior officer probably there. So you don't want to disobey him. And he's basically just putting people to death for no reason.
Oh, yeah.
Just because he has the power to do it.
And so then we have a thing where Luffy actually runs into Helmeppo and is talking to him about, or he asks Helmeppo, you know, what was it? He said
he basically said
he says he's going to execute Zoro in about 3 days, and Luffy's like, you said you were going to give him a month, and he's like, how stupid are you? Like, only an idiot would believe that I was going to do that.
And then Luffy
friggin' socks him.
Yo, Luffy grabbed him by the clocks him.
Oh yeah, Luffy, yeah, like jaw jacks him.
Yo, and then Hell Devils is out there laid out on the floor.
Yeah, and of course he says, you know, I'm gonna tell my dad, and he gets carried off by his men, and basically is like, you just bought yourself a death sentence.
And then Luffy basically Kobe's trying to calm Luffy down, and at that point, Luffy just said, I'm gonna make him join my pirate crew.
Yeah, he basically decides Zoro is coming with me, basically. And we cut back to the Marine base, and this is where we actually meet Captain Morgan for the first time. And actually our first introduction is him talking to a, you know, rank and file Marine, and the Marine is saying lately offerings seem to be decreasing. And we kind of find out that basically what he's doing is he demands like financial tribute from people.
Just because.
Yeah, just because he can. You know, he's the Marines and he has no compunction about using that as a...
and still fearing people using authority.
Yeah. And he does not care because the Marine is telling him like, oh, the people in town seem to be having some financial problems. And he's like, it's not financial problems. They got plenty of money. They just don't respect me is what it is.
Yeah.
And then Helmeppo bursts in and is like, I want you to kill someone for me. And then we cut back to Luffy and Zoro talking. And he's like, really, you again? He's like, I don't want to be a pirate. I already told you this. And he's like, you know, Luffy's like, okay, so if I let you out of here, will you join up with me? He's like, no. I told you that.
And Luffy's so persistent. He's just so nonchalant about asking to join.
Yeah, and Luffy actually does have a good point here when Zoro's like, I have better things to do, and I'm not going to be a bad guy like a pirate. And he's like, why do you care? Everyone thinks you're a bad guy already. And he's like, I don't really care what they think. I haven't done one thing that I regretted. And he's, of course, you know, he's going to, he still is rejecting him. And he says, he talks about, Luffy asks him if he uses a sword. And if I'm not being tied up, I could use a katana, he says. And Luffy's like, I don't care. You're going to join me. And he's like, don't decide for yourself. You don't get to decide that for me.
It's so funny, the conversation between them two.
Yeah.
He's arguing back and forth with him.
Oh, yeah, because they always... And we'll see this more and more as it goes on. Luffy will do something where he's just completely like dead-faced about something, and he's being completely serious about something that is absolutely stupid. And Zoro is behind him yelling, have you thought about this at all? Like, what are you doing? And this happens constantly.
And eventually,
yeah, go ahead.
So eventually we get to meet this. So Nepo's up there and talking to him, and he's basically crying.
Oh yeah, he's talking to his dad.
Yeah. And we finally get to meet the officer of this island. Basically, he says, "Why you're not avenging me, Dad?" And basically said, "You're an idiot son, and you're worthless." And we finally get a glimpse of Captain Axe Hand Morgan. So this dude has an axe for a literal hand on his right arm, and his face has got this.
He's got like a metal jaw.
Jaw. Like the design. Hey man, Oda has some crazy designs.
Yeah.
Like there's some characters that you'll remember, and it's like there's some characters you won't remember. There's like, hey, remember that guy from East Blue?
Yeah. Axarm Morgan, when I first saw him, I was like, this guy looks like a Captain Planet villain.
The way he looks.
Like when I first saw his design screams 90s Captain Planet to me, and
Wait,
I'm not.
for real?
Yes, I don't know why.
I don't know, man.
Minus the axe hand, but like the iron jaw thing, just it seems like something that Captain Planet would have done.
Nah, this is some G.I. Joe villain.
Okay, I can see that.
That's some G.I. Joe low-ranking Cobra Commander goon that works under. So, and he's basically Captain Morgan saying, "You're not great, son. I'm great."
Oh, and this is actually to show what a stone cold bastard Captain Morgan actually is. He actually does say, he asks Helmeppo if the little girl who helped out Zoro, if he killed her, and Helmeppo's like, no, it's a little girl. Like he actually shows that maybe Helmeppo is not quite as devoid of any kind of morality that we think that he is, but his dad sure is.
Oh yeah, he basically ordered him to kill the little girl.
Yeah, and he sends him back. He's like, go into town and you kill the little girl.
He asked an officer, some random officer, and I'm glad the Marines all don't have this cruel mentality of, all right, I'll listen to it because you have authority over me. The officer just basically tells him, no, I can't do that. And basically, he was like, so if you defy me, he said, basically, you defy me, I'm going to kill you.
And he does.
Yeah, he basically, and he says mutiny.
Yeah,
and basically just chopped it. Well, he didn't cut him in half, but he killed him.
He axe handled him.
Yeah, he axe handled him and ended up killing him. So I'm glad some of the Marines actually have brains of their own.
Yeah, and we do see, we kind of get this like, what's the word? Like a monologue from Morgan, and he's talking about how he rose up through the ranks of Marine and what a great man he is and how he's the highest ranking officer in this base. And he talks about how he built this giant statue to himself.
Yo, what's that big ego? That's an ego thing.
My boy
built a statue of himself to put on top of the naval base.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, he's talking about status and everything. You have status, you have everything. Mm-hmm. So basically, he's a typical villain.
Yeah, he's a very, very archetypal villain.
Yeah, typical.
But
typical villain.
Then we see Luffy being Luffy, and he can't find anybody. He's like, I can't even. How am I going to find Zoro's sword? I can't even find a Marine. There's nobody here. And it kind of cuts, and you see the Marines are all working, trying to pull this giant statue of Morgan up, and Luffy deciding that he needs to get a better look because he can hear the sound from on top of the base. He can hear the sound. He's like, well, let's get up there and see what's going on. So he...
Oh, no. Before that, they were bringing the statue up, and they hit the arm.
Oh, yeah, they do. They hit the arm.
And Morgan is flipping out, was like, did you hit my arm?
Yeah.
And the flavor armor, he said, no, we were careless. So basically, he's like, so if you scratch me, that means you scratch... He said, if you scratch the statue, that means you scratch me. Mm-hmm. So that means you hurt me. So... He's good at basically kill the officer.
Oh yeah. So Luffy Luffy uses his rubber ability and throws his arm up to the top of the tower and proceeds to slingshot himself up to the top of this tower. The problem is he overshoots it by a mile.
But he then, as he's trying to get his balance, he gets the rope.
Yeah. As he's trying to get his balance and stop his trajectory, he actually smashes the statue of Morgan in half.
Yo, and everybody's face was priceless. And Morgan, Helmeppo,
oh yeah,
and the Marines are just like, oh, what just happened?
Yeah.
Yo, Morgan's flipping out, and then Luffy's just like, sorry.
Yeah, he just holds his hand up whoops, my bad.
Yo,
and what's funny is because everyone is screaming at him, and of course, Morgan is screaming, kill him. And the first thing Luffy does is looks at Helmeppo and is like, I've been looking everywhere for you. Doesn't even notice the fact that everyone else around him is immediately homicidal towards him.
And basically, he's got to look for Morgan. So he's looking for Zoro. He needs Helmeppo to find Zoro's swords. So he basically took him hostage for a hot second to go find the swords. And as that happening, Kobe's in the courtyard trying to free Zoro.
Yes. And Zoro's actually surprised that Luffy got into the base. And Kobe is like trying to tell him, he's like, yeah, he's an idiot. He's an idiot, but he's serious. When he says something, he means that he's gonna do something. And he's like me, I'm gonna be a Marine just the way Luffy is going to be king of the pirates. And Zoro is really shocked by that. He's like, "Are you joking? That guy's going to be the king of the pirates."
Oh, and then he mentions about it's a little small. He mentions about Helmeppo basically lying to him about the Navy being improper about keeping a promise, and they tell him he's going to kill him.
Oh yeah, yeah, and of course, like I said during this whole conversation, like that's where Kobe is telling him, like, yeah, the guy's an idiot, but when he says something, he's dead serious about it.
And he believes Luffy is going to be king of the pirates, even though they haven't met each other long. He can tell Luffy's not joking.
Yeah.
About what he's
now there is something that does happen towards the end of that chapter. It looks like Kobe gets shot.
Yo, he gets the Glock.
Yeah.
Glock in the back.
Yeah.
While he's trying to free Zoro. And as that's happening, Luffy's dragging Helmeppo around the base, asking him where the swords are.
Yeah, he's trying.
He's just dragging him along the floor.
Yeah, and he tells him that actually Zoro's actual swords are in his room. So they're on their way to Helmeppo's room. And Kobe now realizes he's been shot. And man,
everything's about to go to crap, kind of. Well, semi, sort of. The Marines are looking for Luffy.
And this is where he said, like, this is where Kobe told Zoro, like, Helmeppo was never going to let you go. He was going to execute you in 3 days. He told us as much. And Zoro this is kind of a turning point for him. And he was just like,
I did skip ahead. After they said that in the last chapter about him keeping his promise. So never mind. Skip ahead a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're actually getting ready to just execute Zoro on that spot when he kind of figures it out that, they were going to kill him, and that Kobe has told him, like, yeah, they were never going to keep their promise to you.
Yeah.
And we cut back out, and now Luffy has now found Zoro's swords.
Keyword swords. So Luffy's thinking it's just.
Oh, he says, yeah, but there are 3 katanas here. Which one of these belongs to Zoro? And what's his name? And Helmeppo's passed out. He has no idea. Luffy spies Kobe and how he's been shot, and he's about to be executed again. He's about to be executed because now all the Marines are like
execution style.
Yeah, firing squad style. And Luffy just kind of is just like, oh no, actually Luffy doesn't do anything yet. They actually cut into a what appears to be a flashback about Zoro.
Bro's a little backstory about Zoro.
Yeah.
And because he said, I can't die here.
Yes.
And he has to dream to fulfill. So finally we get to see Zoro's dream. So we go back some ways when Zoro was a wee lad.
Yes.
And
we meet Kuina.
Mm-hmm.
And Zoro, it says that Zoro used 2 swords at this time, and he still couldn't beat this girl Kuina.
Yeah, he was basically they show him fighting this girl, and he's usually wooden swords, and basically she was clapping Zoro. And,
yes,
and everybody was like, "Oh, you lost to Kuina again," and he's like, "Zoro's not weak," and we learned we're getting lore to what Zoro's dream actually is, and he wants to sail to become the world's greatest swordsman.
Yes, his dream is to become the world's greatest swordsman and not lose to anyone. And he actually does say, I think he does say that when he becomes the world's greatest swordsman, beating Kuina is one of the things he has to do it.
And they skip over, so he challenges Kuina to a fight with real swords because they were using bamboo sticks.
Yeah.
So he gives Kuina a sword, and he still uses 2 swords, and yet she's in spite of that, she still defeats him.
Yeah, he comes up short, but in the middle of this, this fight, he still can't beat her. And Zoro's like, let's make a promise. One of us has to become the world's greatest swordsman, and let's see which one of us can do it first. And, they make that promise. The problem is it wasn't to last because Kuina falls down the stairs and dies.
I forgot she really died. I thought it was like,
in the anime, they're really like evasive at first with what happened to her, and then they just randomly mention she fell down the stairs.
I was like, damn, she got killed.
Yeah.
And it was messed up because she was kind of explaining real quick. She was kind of explaining, basically, I'm never gonna be strong because you're basically. She put the whole sexist thing. You're a man. I'm a man. You're a man. I'm a woman. I'm never gonna be physically stronger than you.
Yeah.
And basically, Zoro said, no, that's not true. And I liked the little monologue. They had a little conversation between them.
Mm-hmm.
But then, it was kind of weird. She just died like that in the most weirdest way possible.
Yeah, and it's right here that Zoro really commits himself to being the world's greatest swordsman. And we cut back, and Zoro's kind of like thinking back over that and thinking like, I can't die here. This can't happen like this. And Luffy just finally is up in the tower seeing all this, and he just says, screw it, I don't know which sword is his, but we're just going to take all three.
And then
he rocket launchers himself out the window and basically catches the bullets that were meant for Zoro and Kobe, and they just kind of bounce off of him.
And everybody's surprised of why he didn't get shot.
Yeah, and that's when Zoro's like, what kind of person? And Luffy's like, I'm the man who's going to be the king of the pirates.
And now,
and he said, actually, here's Luffy holds up. Look, which one of these is yours? I couldn't figure it out, so I brought all three of them. And he's like, all three of them are mine. I use all three of them.
You see the swordsman besides Killer Bee from Naruto.
Yeah,
I've seen the swordsman use two swords, of course, but I've never seen swordsman use three.
And here we have verbal agreement. Resist the Marines together here we'll make, or maybe, and he's like, you know what, forget it, why don't I just accept your request and become a pirate? So now we have a gentleman's agreement that if they live through this, Zoro is gonna join up. And Luffy is celebrating, like right in the middle of this. He's like, all right, yes, you're gonna join me, yes. And Zoro, of course, looks annoyed. He's like, okay, can you find me? Because these guys want to kill
all
us.
Day. Kobe's knocked out, wakes up.
Yeah.
Hey, and we get the dopest panel. One of the dopest panels. So as the Marines are charging Zoro and Luffy, he gets out the last minute, and Zoro blocks all the Marines by himself, but while having a conversation with Luffy at the same time, saying, I will join you.
Yeah.
Yo, and then basically threatens the rest of the Marines. If you move, whoever moves dies.
Yeah.
But I like how he's having a conversation with Luffy. Basically saying, I'm going to become the world's greatest swordsman, and that's it. And basically, he was telling Luffy, like, I'm going to become I'll be joining the crew, join up with you, but I don't want you stopping me from
but I have my own goals. Yeah.
And Luffy was cool with that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the point. He's like, good to be the number one swordsman, since you want to be the Pirate King or the Pirate King's crew member. If you can't even accomplish something that small, then I would be embarrassed as well.
And so now Luffy has his first crewmate. But before they get out of here, they have to deal with the Marines and Captain Morgan still.
Yeah. So I mean, again, Zoro is just clapping Marines by the frickin' dozen.
Well, no. First, Luffy does a move called Gum Gum Whip and uses his leg like a whip and claps Marines.
Yes.
So we get a little bit more. Morgan's freaking out, like, "What are you?"
Yeah.
And they tell him that he's a rubber man.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he actually orders. Captain Morgan actually orders several of the Marines to
basically off themselves,
to shoot themselves in the head.
But they actually almost do it though.
Yeah, they actually were going to do it.
Yeah, that was the wild part. They were actually gonna kill themselves. Had the guns pointed to the head and everything. and he said something's wrong with these naval officers, and Luffy goes and charges Captain Morgan.
Yeah, and he's throwing hands. I mean, it seems like through a lot of this fight, Captain Morgan can't actually get a hand on him. Luffy is too fast. He's too stretchy. Like, they can't get a hand on him. And man, he is just smashing.
And
Morgan.
the dude is huge. Like,
oh yeah, Captain Morgan's huge.
This dude was towering over Luffy. Like, this dude is a giant compared to the other characters we see later on. Some of the One Piece character size comparisons are freaking ridiculous. And Luffy is basically clapping Captain Morgan. And as that happens, Helmeppo comes in.
Helmeppo actually does hold Kobe at gunpoint and is like,
little guy.
"Stop assaulting my father," basically.
And he's all scared.
Yeah, he's like, I told you not to. And Kobe's actually going to accept it. He's like, I'm not going to be in your way. He's like, you do what you got to do. And Kobe is telling him, like, hey, I'm not afraid to die. You do what you got to do. And at the last second, he manages to yell out to Luffy to remind him or to warn him that Captain Morgan is behind him, like ready to hit him. And
this is the trust of the first mate. Luffy wasn't even paying attention. He was, but I think he knew Zoro had his back.
Yeah, well, and he Helmeppo gets hit with the gum pistol.
Man, that good old stretchy right.
Yeah.
Right to the jaw.
And right as he's doing that, Captain Morgan's coming from above him, trying to basically cleave him in half, and Zoro. Out of nowhere, here comes Zoro
with the come through,
and just slashes straight through him.
And as we get to the last panel, he actually says,
"Leave it to me, Captain."
Yo, yeah. So he acknowledges him as the captain, and Luffy has his first crewmate.
Yes.
So now this is over. Zoro's free. Captain Morgan and Helmeppo have,
and Zoro is like, if you still want to arrest us, you're welcome to come try.
But the funny part was,
and the Marines are just like, oh, thank God, Captain Morgan's gone.
they were literally terrified and didn't even object. Yo, Bob, Captain Morgan, cool. So basically, we're free.
And then Zoro promptly passes out, and they cut over, and Zoro, Kobe, and Luffy are in the same bar where the little girl who saved Zoro works, and they're just eating and eating and eating, because I mean, obviously Zoro hasn't eaten in 9 days, and Luffy is constantly hungry. And the little girl is, of course, thanking Luffy, and Zoro proceeds to say, like, hey, what are we, so where are we going? What are our next plans? And that's when Luffy says, I'm heading for the Grand Line.
And Kobe flipped out.
Yes. And I'm sure we're going to get into what the Grand Line is here very shortly. But yeah, Kobe's like, how can just you two, how can you get to the Grand Line? The world's strongest pirates gather at the Grand Line. We're going, and Zoro goes, we're going for the One Piece. It won't hurt to head that direction.
Yeah, and basically they weren't afraid, and
Zoro actually, in one of the most Zoro things, Kobe's like, now you're saying insane things, and Zoro's like, why do you care? You're not coming with us, which to me is such a Zoro thing. Over time, we'll learn that, but that is one of the most Zoro things. Like, you're not going, why do you care?
And as Luffy basically says, they gotta bid their farewells.
Yeah, and he says we'll always be friends, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Even though, like, Kobe's entire dream is to join the force that's going to be in charge of hunting Luffy down as a pirate.
And he still said, I'm going to be your friend still.
Yeah.
And it could have just went south and Luffy just could have clocked him, and, but he knows Kobe's a good guy.
Yeah.
And basically now, Kobe actually, has some confidence in himself, has a better self-esteem. Thanks to being around Luffy, it gave him the confidence to follow his dream to become a Navy officer. So now they have to get out and go. But before they leave, Navy officer comes in and thanks Luffy and Zoro, but basically telling him what the since y'all pirates, y'all gotta go.
Yeah. He does say, he basically says, since you're pirates, you have to leave the island. Please leave immediately. As for events that occurred here, we will be reporting it to headquarters. So obviously everyone's going to know that Luffy and Zoro, well, number one, that Zoro's escaped. And they're going to know that this random pirate with a straw hat.
No, he didn't. He said if y'all leave, he said we'll show your gratitude. We won't report it to the Navy. He did report it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't report to the Navy because since they say to Captain Morgan, which was, I mean, the greatest thing that they could have done to that island, he's not going to report it. So as they're leaving, Kobe gets questioned of, are you with them? And Luffy, he's basically questioning what happened. So Luffy does some Luffy stuff that you probably think was going to happen. He basically was about to kind of rat Kobe out, and as that happens, Kobe clocks Luffy in the jaw. But it was a specific reason why he told it. There's a specific reason why he wanted to do that, and Luffy had a smirk on his face while he's getting punched, and then Luffy just clocks him. Luffy just starts wailing on Kobe.
Yeah.
And basically, he tells the officer, says, "You guys are not friends at all."
Yeah.
And
which I think was the point of all of this.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't want, basically Luffy didn't want to be, if you want to become a Navy officer, he basically didn't want him to be tied to Luffy and Zoro.
Yeah. And that's when he asked this guy, please let me join the Marines, even if it's just chores, I'll still do it. And
the lieutenant, the dude's cool. The lieutenant was cool about it. Like, basically said, he gave a kind of look at him, and one of the officers said, don't trust him, but he said, I'm going to become a pirate. And he said, I'm no pirate. I'm going to become a Navy officer. And the lieutenant said, hey, you can join up.
Yeah. And that's kind of where that all ends is, he tells all of these people like that he wants to be a pirate or that he wants to be a Marine.
Yeah.
And they let him in. And he actually catches up to Zoro and Luffy and, kind of yells to him and is like, basically, thank you. I'll never forget you. They let me join the Marines.
And he salutes them.
All of them do. All the Marines do.
But that's what the lieutenant came out and said. This is the first time we ever saluted pirates. Something we don't do often. And they all came out and saluted Luffy and Zoro as they were going.
Yeah.
And for now, for the time being, they depart ways, and Kobe joins the Navy finally, and Luffy and Zoro are floating on to the Grand Line.
Yeah. And it says, after the addition of pirate hunter Zoro into his crew, Luffy begins his journey once again, but they don't know there are only more and more difficult challenges ahead of them.
Yes.
And I think that's actually a pretty good place to tie up for the day, actually.
Yeah. I said, we might cut down the chapters. I don't figure out a way if we can cover more, because I'll be wanting to get to more stuff. But One Piece has a lot of info. It's not like when we do Kengan. So, yeah, this is probably a good cutoff spot.
Sounds good.
Zoro's finally joined the crew. After all the ordeal, Luffy helped him out and see that his resolve is strong and he won't interrupt Zoro's dream.
Yep.
So we get the first mate, and you'll see why. Zoro earns the title of first mate.
Zoro definitely earns the title of first mate.
As the series goes on and people see Zoro, you know why.
Yeah.
He's the first mate for a reason.
Yeah. And Zoro comes in clutch more than once.
Oh,
more than once.
When you get, I said, man, we haven't got into anything.
Yeah.
But when we get further in, you'll see why. Title of first mate. And they say, and Luffy, and so from there, they are going to the next destination. Basically, go ahead to the Grand Line.
Yep.
Going to the Grand Line.
Slowly but surely.
So thanks for tuning in today. Whoever tuned in. Probably I'm gonna make sure, like I said, like, share, subscribe, comment to the Just an Anime podcast page. If you ever want to tune in to the One Piece podcast, we need to do Kengan too. We'll have to get back on Kengan. We'll have to figure out a time to do that during. We'll probably do it. We'll try to do it during the weekday. If it just two of us cover it, or all three of us, me, Everett, and Tim, but we will be covering that. And because One Piece is gonna be a long journey, guys.
Yeah.
One Piece is definitely going to be a long journey. It's going to be an enjoyable journey because I've been hyped. I've been on a One Piece copia, guys. Reading the manga, doing this podcast. They have One Piece trading card game. I mean, the One Piece card video game. I mean, One Piece is my top 5 anime for a reason. This series is amazing. If y'all ever want to check it out, read it, watch it, find an anime site or manga. If you want to read it, watch it. It's all the same. One Piece is great. Check it out. It is 1,000-something chapters, but it is all good. It's there.
Yeah. I'm also I've been getting back into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, hey man, we'll have to do I might have to cover.
What's coolest about JoJo for me is that almost every character in the show is some kind of reference to a musician of some kind, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like Dio Brando. The Dio is Ronnie James Dio. He's the guy who replaced Ozzy Osbourne in Black Sabbath for a while.
Yo, so we had a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
He had a full vampire.
Yeah. So
Tim's watching JoJo, guys. We get Tim on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Always tell him to check out stuff. Hey, we might do a sports anime one day. I'm telling Tim to watch a sports anime, y'all. And I know it sounds goofy, but sports anime is fire. I don't even like real sports in real life, but I watch a football anime, and it was godlike. I Show 21. Stuff was fire. Volleyball, Haikyuu. Boxing, Hajime no Ippo. I mean, I don't even like sports. I just got done watching. Y'all watch Blue Lock. Check out Blue Lock too. That shit's fire. I played soccer back in the day, and I was looking at them playing. I'm like, this is realistic soccer. I gotta play soccer like that back in 7th grade. That'd have been godlike. But sorry. Thanks for tuning in to the One Piece podcast. We'll be back next week. Tell your friends, tell your people about the podcast. Go check out the channel. I will upload the first podcast of the One Piece podcast, and then this episode as well. And hope you guys tune in again next week. And y'all have a good one. Peace and chicken grease.